Hey guys, Apple held their iPad event yesterday and they unveiled the new iPad Air and the new iPad Mini Retina. So I wanted to make a video here checking out some of the specs and seeing what's changed. So you can see here the iPad Air, and essentially what they've done with this is made it thinner, lighter and faster than the iPad 4. They've put the new A7 chip inside, so you're going to get better CPU performance and better GPU performance for your games and all that sort of stuff. And that's pretty much it. Essentially, they haven't changed much else. The screen resolution is the same, the screen size is the same, the cameras are the same. That's pretty much it, but it is thinner and lighter and faster, so there you go. Now, you're probably wondering how thin and how light it really is, so let's go ahead and check that out. And here you go, you can see it's less than 0.5 kilograms. I think it actually comes in at 469 grams, 28% lighter, 20% thinner, and 24% less volume. Now, that's all I really want to talk about for the iPad Air, because it's not that interesting, not much has really changed. I want to move over to the iPad Mini because this is a little bit more interesting. So here it is, the Apple iPad Mini with a Retina display. Now, I used the original iPad Mini, and while it's a really nice tablet, you could definitely tell that the screen resolution was a little bit low. Sometimes you'd zoom into websites and you could see that it wasn't quite as clear as other tablets. Sometimes you could even see the pixels, and generally sometimes it just wasn't a nice experience. So Apple have gone ahead and fixed that. You can see they've put a screen with a resolution of 2048 by 1536 and a pixel density of 326. So you're not going to get that same problem with the iPad Mini Retina. It's going to be super sharp, especially with a screen size of 7.9 inches. Now, that's not the only upgrade. They've also upgraded the processor. They've put in the same A7 chip as the iPhone 5S and the iPad Air. So that is quite impressive because it's going to be a lot more powerful than the original iPad Mini, which essentially had the same internals as the iPad 2. So it's a big upgrade there. So yeah, let's go ahead and check these out in a bit more detail. So we'll start off with the iPad Air differences, and you'll see this little table here. The iPad late 2012 is on the left, the iPad Air is on the right, and what you'll essentially notice is a lot of the specs are actually identical. You can see the display is identical, the 9.7-inch Retina display, same resolution, same PPI for both. The CPU is different, we know that. The iPad Air has the much improved Apple A7 with M7 Motion co-processor. It's 64-bit, it's a much faster dual-core processor. Yes, it's dual-core, but it is very fast, and a much improved GPU as well. Storage options are identical. They didn't bump up the storage options. The front camera is identical. The rear camera is identical. Pretty much everything here is identical until you get to around the dimensions and weight. Now, the iPad late 2012 is 9.7 millimeters thick, or 9.4 millimeters thick, sorry, and the iPad Air is 7.5, so that is quite a bit thinner. The weight, again, 1.44 pounds, 652 grams versus 1 pound and 469 grams. So you can see that it is quite a bit lighter. Now, what I actually noticed here is the battery is smaller on the iPad Air, and I'm not sure how much of effect that's going to be. You can see 42.5 on the original iPad late 2012 and 32.4 on the iPad Air. Now, obviously they had to do that to make it thinner, but we'll have to see of how much of an impact it'll actually be. Obviously the A7 processor is more kind of, efficient, so it should help, but it's the same screen, same brightness and all of that, so we'll have to wait and see. In terms of the price here, you can see Wi-Fi only $499, cellular $629. So let's go ahead and move on to the iPad Mini Retina. So here we've got the iPad Mini with Retina display versus the original iPad Mini on the left. So the display size is identical, 7.9 inches, nothing has changed there. The resolution is dramatically improved on the iPad Mini with Retina display. You can see that there, and the pixel density as well, 163 versus 326. It's not even a competition. The CPU again is a big upgrade for the iPad Mini, the Apple A7 with M7 Motion co-processor, 64-bit, much faster CPU and GPU performance versus the A5. It is going to be a big difference. Memory, we don't know much about. Storage, they've added the 128GB version here. Cameras again are the same. I'm not sure if they actually changed anything with the cameras like the aperture or anything like that. I'm not sure. They may well have, but in terms of the actual megapixels, nothing has really changed there. Moving on, what else do we have here? What you'll notice is the iPad Mini Retina is a little bit thicker. They had to put a little bit more into it, so it's 7.5 millimeters versus 7.2, and a little bit heavier as well. You can see here 331 grams versus 308. So it's a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker, but you get a lot more. You get a Retina display and a much better processor. They've also put in a bigger battery, which is a nice improvement. You can see here a 16.3 on the original iPad Mini versus a 23.8. So they've increased the battery size as well, which, kind of makes the dimensions and weight a little bit bigger and heavier. So that's kind of to be expected. The price is where it gets a little bit disappointing, but, I'm never surprised by Apple when it gets to the price. The iPad mini with Retina display is $399 for the Wi-Fi model and $529 for the cellular. That is expensive as hell in my opinion, but you know, for me in the UK as well, that doesn't even translate. It's going to be around £319 for me. You know, we always get screwed in the UK, but that's really expensive. So nonetheless, let's not talk about the price too much. I know it is an important factor, but I don't want to talk about that. I just want to talk about the specs. The iPad mini has been improved quite drastically in the specs. And, you know, I wanted an iPad mini. I really enjoyed using my iPad mini, but it did need the Retina display. They've given you that, and they've given you the Apple A7 processor, so it's going to be a lot better. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think of this. Are you going to get any of these tablets? Are you going to upgrade from your original iPads, from your Nexus 7s maybe? Who knows? Let me know. Peace out.